Hello, this is Russell Dobular filling in today for Jimmy Dore. Our first guest is going to be someone who has never been on the show before, I believe. Melissa Witt. No, you probably know her better as Mel on X. She's a Southern Republican, a Christian advocate, and an activist who strongly supports Palestinian struggle for human rights and criticizes the United States' relationship with Israel. She shares her commentary and insights on Twitter under the handle @VillageCrazyLady. Please welcome Mel.
Hi.
Hey, how are you, Mel?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very good. What state do you live in?
North Carolina.
North Carolina? Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Smack in the middle of it, too. So.
How's the weather?
Well, this is my weather. I love hot weather. So it's very hot right now. It's today was like 93, I think. I like to go walking in the middle of the day.
93?
Yeah, because I'm insane. Wow. So if it anything above 90 is just, it's my favorite. If I'm complaining that it's hot, then it's like seventh circle of hell hot outside. Like that's usually the barometer. Like it's almost unbearable for most people, but I love it.
I just got back from Southeast Asia. You would like it a lot there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because I like humidity and I like heat. I like humidity. and neither one bother me. I like it when it's sticky. So, the only place I've ever been where it has been a bit much is Orlando in the middle of July. That's a it's rough there sometimes. Some days it's fine, but yeah.
The first time I ever went down there in the summertime, I went to Graceland, and I could not believe as soon as we got out of the car, you're just like drenched.
Yeah, it's not even
like
that bad
buckets.
in Tennessee, though. Yeah.
Is it worse in North Carolina?
Oh yeah, it's much, much worse. Yeah. North Carolina has some really, really intense humidity. And I live in what's like called the up dip, which is just this weird geographical location where we kind of get this swirl. So it's not like a valley, but it's like where 2 points meet down. And so we get a lot of extreme weather fluctuations right around where I'm at in the Sandhills. And yeah, I think it's worse. I remember I lived in San Antonio for about a year and a half, and everyone there was like, "Oh, are you okay with the heat?" They were always like checking on me, and I'm like, "This is nothing. Like, you guys don't know. This is because it's hot, but it's dry, so it's fine." So
now you got a lot of Northerners moving down though, right?
Not where I live, but I have heard up in Raleigh there are a lot, and so I don't want to say thankfully, but we haven't experienced that.
You could say that. You could say that.
Yeah.
And actually, that goes very well into my first question. All right, so you say we met on the Jose Vega fundraiser the other night, and you said you become a one-issue voter, but in your bio, you still describe yourself as a Republican, as a Christian. So how did that evolution take place? Like, did you vote for Trump in 2024?
I did. I voted for Trump 3 times. And
Wow.
so, which is funny because after 2020, I swore I would never vote for him again. And I hated him for years. And I really spent a long time dragging him over COVID, over policy issues. I was very, very focused on domestic politics and really on COVID. I was so upset about what had happened with like the way our schools were shut down, the way I felt like, there was this bureaucracy that all the politicians just turned everything over to a nameless, faceless bureaucracy that was never held accountable for any of the decisions that it made, that ended up ruining people's lives, ruining children's education, ruining small businesses, all of the things, the biggest money, transfer of wealth in, I believe it was human history. And so I was so angry about that. And then October 7th happens. And so I supported Ron DeSantis, which I always like cringe at now because he's such an insane Zionist. But at the time, he was very good on pushing back on a lot of the COVID madness and whatnot.
Right.
And so, but then October 7th happens and he just like goes off the rails. Like he was crazier than almost anybody. I couldn't believe it. Well, Nikki Haley, of course, outdid him, but I don't know if you followed the Republican primary in the late fall, early winter of 2023, but it was genuinely like a contest of who could get on their knees more for Israel. All of them, except Trump. He was the only one he made a couple comments in the beginning. He like went after Netanyahu. I don't think he bought the official narrative on October 7th. I don't think he believed that, he was very questionable about the security around it. He thought things were fishy. And then he just doesn't say anything at all for months on end. And it actually wasn't until March of 2024, because Miriam Adelson was keeping her powder dry. She wanted Nikki Haley. That was her girl. She that she finally has to sit down when it becomes very clear that Trump's going to win again. And, then he comes out and he's tepid and he's not. And, and so I was like, and I wanted to punish Biden for for what he had done. I wanted to punish Biden and Kamala and all of them. I hated them so much for what they had done. And I kind of let that blind me, I think. Now I've committed to, this is a single issue. I'm a single issue voter now. But if in fact neither one of you, neither candidate represents my values on Zionism and on Americans, relationship with Israel, then I just simply probably won't vote, or I'll write someone in. I'm not actually going to pick the lesser of two evils anymore, because this is such an important issue to me. So that's kind of where I am. And going, if I was faced tomorrow with the same vote, I probably would have just written somebody in. I don't know if I would have.
Now, what do you think happened with Trump? You feel like he was compromised by the Epstein materials? Is it purely Adelson money and other money that comes to him? What do you think happened?
I don't know. You go back, somebody posted an interview that he did in 2000, where apparently he was kind of trying to dip his toes into like paleo conservatism, but he attacked Pat Buchanan. And this interview was from 2000. They posted it a few weeks ago, in which he said, our relationship with Israel is so special, and we have to protect it at all costs, And I remember when he came out in 2015, he definitely wasn't saying those things. He wasn't like that. I mean, he was calling Rubio, Sheldon Adelson's perfect little puppet that he could buy.
Right.
He was saying all of the right things back then. So it's like, did something happen? Was he always a Trojan horse? Or I don't know. He's surrounded by a lot of religious fanatics, a lot of these Christian Zionists who are part of a movement called the New Apostolic Reformation, which is kind of this hybrid Pentecostalism. I wouldn't even most Pentecostals don't know what NAR is. And but these folks, they believe they are either prophets or apostles, so they can interpret. They are God speaks through them, and they are also allowed to have their own special interpretations of the Bible. They can add amendments to the Bible, appendages to the Bible. It's really crazy stuff. But he's actually surrounded by them because they were the only evangelicals who would support him in 2016. And so they were really influential around January 6th. And then in the 4 years afterwards, they did stand by him pretty loyally. And so these people have tremendous amounts of power. They are fanatical Zionists, as hardcore as you can possibly get. And one thing that they really worked on while Trump was out of office was kind of doing this whispering thing where they told him he was Cyrus. He was like Cyrus.
Right.
Or now the new one is that, so in 45, he was Cyrus. Now he's Darius, who was the Persian emperor who helped to refinance helped to finance the building of the Second Temple. He helped to secure the border of Jerusalem. And Trump is very, he's egotistical. He has a huge ego. And I believe he's the kind of person that if you stroke his ego enough and you whisper in his ear all the right things, that you actually can get along a far way with him. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. I do think there's a lot of emotional and intellectual manipulation going on. I thought it was funny that the Iranians picked up on that, and so they got their own psychologist to come in and seem to have some success with what they were able to communicate to him, which I found very interesting. And so I don't know. Because initially one thing I thought was, okay, if nothing else, Trump is a narcissist and he's going to be very worried about his legacy, right? And so he wants to be the peace president. He wants to be the guy who makes peace. So we can really play into that. And so when he came in, and it did seem initially like that's what he was doing, right? Like, but then BB's there every month for like, I don't know, but it was 6 times
bringing his laundry.
Yeah, I know, it's so disgusting. And so it's very clear that they're very aware of that, and they are just, on him 24/7. And something else that the Israel lobby did that was very successful very early on was they waged campaign after campaign against anyone that would not toe the line. And it's incredible the number of people they were able to purge from the administration very early on who would be any sort of a dissident whatsoever. And you have to give Zionists that, and that they're very well organized and they can accomplish these things. It's quite incredible because we don't have any organization on our side, so there's nobody pushing back against this. They start a campaign against someone, and then and these guys aren't even, some of them weren't even anti-Israel. They were literally just like America first, like, hey, this isn't good for us, so we shouldn't be doing it. Like, that's it. Like, they
right.
definitely weren't. And it didn't matter. So there was sorry.
So it's all right. So now last night in New York City, AIPAC did get out organized. So I want to show you a little clip of some of the celebration and one of the reactions. And for somebody coming at this with your perspective, I'm very curious to see how you feel about this. So there's the crowd at the victory party chanting very exuberantly, "Fuck AIPAC." All right, so now they're pretty excited. But now Matt Walsh's reaction was pretty typical of a lot of reactions you get from a lot of self-described Christian conservatives. Third world communists are the enemy. They've taken over our greatest American city. They're taking over one of our two major political parties. They hate this country. They hate white people. They hate our heritage and their traditions. This is the fight. Get in the game or go away. Now, when you look at those two things, do you feel more culturally aligned with Matt Walsh or with the people chanting "fuck ICE," or neither? And it's just irrelevant to what your political mission is at this point?
Right. Yeah. Everybody so this is the thing that they always do, especially on the right, is they want to force us into choosing between, oh, you have to join the third world communists and you have to sacrifice on Israel. And, my question is, well, why the hell do I have to sacrifice on Israel? Why can't the Republican politicians sacrifice on Israel? Because the Republican politicians can win easily. Right? They'll definitely win my support. I'll push them all day long on my platform if they just compromise on this one thing of a foreign freaking country. Most of these people are in the South. They don't even have any Jewish constituents, let alone, any connection whatsoever to this state. So why is it that I have to compromise on this thing where, I can show you where Americans have to trade. We have to give them money. We have to trade, incalculable amounts of soft power in support of Israel. We have, ceded any kind of moral standing we might have had on the world stage to dictate about anything, to lecture about anything, because we have quite literally funded, supplied, and enabled a full-blown genocide. And not only that, we've waged diplomatic and financial warfare against anyone who has been even moderately effective at criticizing Israel, not even stopping them, but simply criticizing them. Francesca Albanese obviously being the most famous one, but she's not the only one. All of the prosecutors at the ICC we have sanctioned as well and made their lives a living hell for doing their jobs. So we give up a lot, get nothing in return but grief and demands of more. So why this is a difficult thing for Republican politicians, once again, who most of them don't even have any Jewish constituents. why they care so much is it's infuriating. So no, I'm not going to have Matt Walsh or anybody else force me into this false choice between, oh, you have to side with the commies, and just, surrender on Israel, or you're not with us, go away. And it's like, I'm not with you, period. I can tell you that, right? Because you haven't been willing to give an inch on Israel. And so you're not willing to give an inch on the thing that I care about. So, I guess we're just at a standstill, and I guess we can go our own separate ways, and you don't need us. You clearly have said this multiple times. You say it all the time. If you don't stand with Israel, get out of the Republican Party. Well, then, okay, bye. Have fun. Good. You guys are going to be the ones to lose to the quote unquote third world communists, which is just hilarious because all it was replacing 3 liberal Democrats with 3 other liberal Democrats. And really the biggest thing that I can tell is that the ones that they replaced them with are just, some of them are pretty hardcore anti-Israel. I believe the lady is. Sorry, I don't know any of their names.
That's well, her name's tough. Daria Liza, Avilia Chevalier.
Okay. And then the 2 gentlemen, but one of them is actually like a Zionist.
And there's another woman, Velez, who also won. Okay. And then there's Brad Lander, who's actually, he's a liberal Zionist. Okay. Like he's a 2-state solution kind of Zionist who thinks we should stop funding Israel because they're committing a genocide. But he's the only one of the 3 who does not question Israel's fundamental right to exist as a Jewish state.
Gotcha. And hold up, but there was another Jewish gentleman, I believe, that was also elected in a surprise win. Was it not? I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I saw somebody's post earlier that said it was 2 Jewish men. So, but so, for the most part, it's like, again, somebody posted something really great earlier about Dan Goldman quite literally led the charge for the impeachment against Trump. So it's
actually Trump truthed about this. All right, so you mentioned Francesca Albanese. Mm-hmm. So this week, I don't know why they keep doing this. I mean, I kind of do, but the Zionists keep having these conferences where you would think they would ixnay on the control of the media and the banksnay. But they feel such impunity. This was a really incredible case where he just completely contradicts himself over the course of the speech. So there's Chris Manahan. Zionist lawfare activist Hillel Neuer blasts UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese for saying America is controlled by the Jewish lobby, then brags about successfully lobbying the U.S. government to sanction her. So let's take a look.
Albanese, the UN rapporteur on Palestine. As you know, I don't have to tell this audience, she has said that America is controlled by the Jewish lobby. On October 7th, she defended Hamas, said there's a context, and every 5 minutes on Twitter, she is echoing the worst blood libels against Israel. She is the leading purveyor of the genocide libel. We are fighting back. We are fighting back. We have exposed her. We have exposed her hateful remarks. She is now the first UN rapporteur in history to have been condemned by France, Germany, Canada, the Netherlands, the UK, Argentina, Hungary, the US, and many other countries, Latvia, Estonia, many other countries. And each condemnation matters. And we led a campaign. We got 120,000 people, including many here, who signed our petition asking Secretary Rubio to take action when the UN failed to act. Secretary Rubio announced for the first time in history the US would sanction a UN official on July 9th. For the first time in history, UN Rapporteur Francesca Albanese was sanctioned by the United States. No more lectures that she used to give in Harvard, Princeton, Georgetown, and Columbia. She is banned entry from the United States. She cannot use a bank card. She cannot use a debit card. She cannot receive a payment. And in her words, the sanctions are devastating. And as she says, horribile, horribile. Very good. Very good. It sends a message of deterrence. And after she was sanctioned, we got her husband, who works for the World Bank, who shares in her incitement. He was demoted from his position at the World Bank for incitement to hate. And after she was sanctioned, the head of the Commission of Inquiry against Israel, Navi Pillay, resigned. We heard that she has family in the U.S. She was afraid if she got sanctioned, she couldn't enter the U.S. She resigned.
So Albanese actually responded to this clip. My family and I are exposed to all sorts of threats, restrictions, and hateful rhetoric, yet we would say and do everything we have said and done against the genocide. It's ideologues and profiteers again and again, forever proud to stand on the side of justice. Now, I see a clip like that, and I feel you could not, with a million chapters of Stormfront, do more to spread anti-Semitic tropes than the Zionists do themselves. You're playing to every trope. You are saying we're going after her for claiming we're committing a genocide by proving we control the government, the banking system, the media, academia. How do you react to this? And you live, I take it, given the lack of Yankees coming down there, it sounds like you're living in a kind of conservative area. How does this kind of thing play there? Because for me, I'm Jewish. I see things like this. I say, these people are trying to get us all killed. Like, this is the kind of thing that's going to create anti-Semitism. Because then you can't say to people, you're crazy if you think that. Oh, yeah? Well, did you see that clip?
Right. Well, I think for the most part, everybody understands that there is most division is on class lines, right? These are not your normal Jews. Okay. They're just not. They're very wealthy. They're very, very powerful, right? And these people, Zionists, because they love to use your everyday quote unquote Christian Zionists as well, the people who are filling up these evangelical pews as well, is like, oh, look at all this support. This is what justifies this. And it's like, if you talk to your average evangelical, and I know, because I know a lot of them, they either are just like disgusted, blown away by what Israel's doing. They, everyone's uncomfortable at the very least. Many are absolutely disgusted, and they don't actually know why they support it. It's like one of those things. It's just, oh, well, that's, most don't know about dispensationalism. They could not tell you what the eschatology of their church is. They don't know what premillennialism is or anything like that. Like, this is just not taught in most churches, and yet, sorry, they're used as this thing. They always say, well, there's 10 million. I apologize. There's a serial killer outside.
And he's trying to deliver the mail.
He is. Yes, he is. So, that said, I do think, I don't know, I don't ever hear any Jew hate in my everyday life, but people do send me these clips and they're like, what the, like, they've never heard of anything like this.
Right,
and for the most part right now, they all assume, well, she must have done something really bad. They still, unfortunately, they still do benefit from that. Most Americans are not familiar with Francesca Albanese. They don't know who she is.
Right.
A lot of conservatives do not like the UN. So you say, oh, she's the UN rapporteur, and everyone just assumes that she must have done something really bad, because how could you get all of those organizations to go along with this, right? So that's been a very frustrating thing that I've experienced. And I feel like we got to do a better job about exposing. And God bless, Tucker Carlson, he had her on his show and he let her really talk about her experience. But, there was a lot of deplatforming, a lot of financial warfare waged against January 6ers, which again was very wrong. There was this manipulation and control, and it was waged against them. People were debanked for having anything to do, even if they didn't do anything on January 6th, And so the weaponization of the financial system in America well, we're getting a tiny taste, conservatives got a tiny taste of what the US has been doing via sanctions warfare for the last 40 years, right? So I do think it's, God bless Chris Menahan for watching all of these. He goes through all these videos, he clips them. He does a very good job of just putting them out there, but really showing like, you guys have to see how powerful this lobby is, and it's for the benefit of billionaires, of people, AI companies who are running these, targeting platforms. It's for drone companies, the military-industrial complex, the deep state who wants to spy on you. It's a small group. It's a big club. Small group, big club. You're not in it, okay? And I think it is important to kind of stay focused on that, obviously. But yeah, I would agree with you. They don't make it easy sometimes to.
No,
I mean, they do. They love, because they love to be like, to look like they're so powerful, right? And they're so, you might as well not even fight us because we will win. Look at what we can do to this woman who was appointed by the UN. If we can do that to her, we can we can squash you like a bug.
Of course. Of course. Well, speaking of the UN, this blew up this week. And I know from your appearance on Jose's fundraiser, this is something you feel very strongly about, the abuse of the Palestinian people. So tensions boiled over at the United Nations after a public hearing on conflict-related sexual violence descended into a heated confrontation between Israel's UN ambassador, Danny Danon, and senior UN officials. Danon demanded the resignation of Premia Patten, the UN Special Representative on Sexual Violence and Conflict, accusing her of bias after a report placed Israel on a UN blacklist for alleged conflict-related sexual violence violations. Let's take a look.
I'm sorry, but I have to make a point of order. Because this is what the chair should be doing.
You spoke,
I make a point of order.
3 weeks ago, Israel was added to the Secretary General's blacklist for conflict-related sexual violence. Israel, a democracy governed by the rule of law, a country defending its citizens, placed alongside Hamas, alongside Boko Haram, alongside ISIS. Were you afraid the facts will not match the conclusion? This was surrender. Surrender to the Secretary General's campaign against Israel. Surrender to the rapporteurs and the so-called UN experts who bully, pressure, and smear. You caved. You caved to the pressure. You caved to the Secretary General's obsession with targeting Israel.
I'm sorry, but I have to make a point of order.
You will be quiet
because this is what the chair should be doing.
You spoke,
I make a point of order. They should not be personal. It should not be personal.
You part of the bullying.
I have a point of order.
Shame on you.
I have a point of order.
You spoke,
I
now
will
I
not
speak.
walk out.
You walk out.
We have verified
you.
evidence.
You part of
this
this.
Is a point of order.
You part of this obsession.
No personal
You
attack.
part of this obsession.
No personal.
All right. Now, surprisingly, given what they did to Francesca Albanese, there are people at the United Nations who are willing to continue to speak up. So just a few days later, they dropped a report confirming what everybody has known, what a lot of doctors who have been in the combat zone in Gaza have been screaming from the rooftops. We've interviewed some of them, that they've been intentionally targeting children. So it's from the United Nations. The Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory prepares new report to the UN Human Rights Council. Quote, the evidence shows the Palestinian children have been deliberately targeted and killed by the Israeli security forces. Adam here kind of summed up the report. It's not very long. It's very easy to find. If anybody wants to read it, it's only about 80 pages. The UN officially concludes that Israel intentionally waged a genocide on children. The official UN Commission of Inquiry just concluded on the record in a published report that Israel deliberately targeted Palestinian children as a strategy to destroy the biological continuity of the Palestinian people. Just let that sink in. 20,179 children killed, 44,143 injured in 2 years that we know of so far. Since the ceasefire in October 2025, UNICEF confirmed at least 265 more children killed. And Israel's response to the UN report? A libelous sham. Let me tell you what's in the report because it's so much worse than the headline. The report's full title is "The Essence of Childhood Has Been Destroyed." Here's what they documented. Israel deliberately targeted maternity wards and neonatal units, not as collateral damage, but as a strategy. The result? Rising miscarriages, birth defects, and the destruction of Palestinian newborn life and population continuity. Palestinian children were arrested, tortured, and held in Israeli detention facilities with no information on their whereabouts provided to their families. A 14-year-old boy was shot by an Israeli military patrol as he walked outside his own front door. No fighting, no combat, just a child walking out of his house. The commission has identified the specific Israeli military divisions, brigades, and units responsible for killing children in documented incidents. This is not a war. It is not a conflict. It is the documented systematic destruction of a people, starting with their children, by a state that receives billions in Western military funding every single year. And your government calls it self-defense. Now, is this the kind of thing that really drew you into being a one-issue voter? Is it really that, the horror of that?
Of course. You know, here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here is this one really struck me. And this was paragraph 42. In one example investigated by the commission between 20th and 21st of December 2023 in Sheikh Radwan, Israeli soldiers threw 4 hand grenades inside a house with 30 family members without any warning, severely injuring a 5-year-old boy who suffered from multiple injuries, including abdominal evisceration. The Israeli security forces then forcibly entered the house, shot and killed 8 family members, including the parents, and ordered the survivors to evacuate to a nearby school. The Israeli security forces did not provide any medical assistance to the injured or assist them with their evacuation. The boy was carried from the house to the school with severe injuries. He lost consciousness at the school while he was treated by a doctor who reinserted his exposed intestines by using diapers and taped his stomach. He was taken to the Al-Shifa hospital where he underwent surgery alone. Later, the boy was medically evacuated out of Gaza and underwent 8 surgeries, while 3 more were still needed as of December 2025. The boy had been left with a permanent disability in one of his legs and has to use a wheelchair. The boy and his surviving 6-year-old brother suffer from severe mental harm and behavioral change as a result of this incident, in particular since they witnessed the brutal shooting of their parents by the Israeli security forces, including their pregnant mother shot in the abdomen and breasts and father in the head. Mental harm against Palestinian children by Israel. The commission finds that Israeli soldiers of the 162nd Division, specifically the 401st Brigade and Shayete 13, were operating in the area at the time of this incident. So, that's, again, one horror story. And this is what America has traded incalculable amounts of soft power for. This is what we're defending on the national stage, or on the international stage. This is what we are sanctioning, debanking, going after the family members of people who speak out against this kind of stuff. It's really, they have aligned us with pure evil. I think that Israelis are, at this point, to me, they're akin to a drug addicted person who we are handing, $100 bills to and dropping them off on Skid Row every single day. We are feeding this bloodlust, this addiction. It's not, it's so horrific for everyone. Of course, most of all for the Palestinians who have to deal with this. And why? Like, what are we? Not that there's anything that we could get out of this, but it doesn't make any sense, right? It's very, very frustrating because I'm not naive. I know that evil happens in the world. I know that there's bad things happening. I know there are conflicts and war zones and everything, but it is different in that it has the full-fledged backing, support, and protection of the world's biggest superpower, right? And it doesn't make any sense. And so, you do start to, and I think that that's one reason why conspiracy theories start to really run wild around this topic, because it's so nonsensical. Everyone is looking for it to make sense, right?
Right.
And sometimes you watch it, and I'm sure you were the same way if you've been watching since October 7th, and just horror. It makes for long days sometimes, obviously nothing compared to the people of the region, but
it's been yet another thing, it seems, in a long series of things that have divided Americans from each other. I mean, that's happened with the Trump kind of Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and your end of the pool. And on our end, it's kind of split people along the Israel supporters and the people who just cannot support an apartheid state, and especially coming right out of this whole wave of social justice, to see so many of the people who mouthed that when confronted with a real colonial project back it has just been insane. So speaking of Massey, one last thing, I want to boost this because our friend Gen X Girl is trying to draw attention to this. So Massey is going out swinging with his last few months in office. One of the first things he's doing is to introduce a bill to cut $3.3 billion of Israel funding from the NSRP Appropriations Act. So, hey, now's the time, folks. 202-224-3121. Call your House rep. Tell them to vote yes on the Massey amendment. Now, for you, Mel, you identify as a Republican, you identify as a Christian. Now, does that mean Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like, what does that mean for you at this point? And if so, what did you make of the way Trump was able to crush their political careers, at least for the moment?
Yeah, it was obviously very frustrating, especially for Marjorie Taylor Greene, because I know she said a lot of things that, people obviously take issue with, controversial things. But one thing I was so appreciative of her was that she really, really approached the issue from just a humanitarian standpoint. Again, she was sharing, Gaza notifications last August. None of, the quote unquote, third world communists, they don't even do that, right? And she was sharing, she's like, this is a baby. Like, this baby is starving. And so I was so grateful to just see someone argue it from a this is not a political issue at all. This is are you a decent human being issue? If you can see these babies starving and that we're enabling this food blockade, right? So I really just really adored her for that. And I just so appreciate her willingness, because it's not easy on the right, especially, to stand up. And she's like in one of the reddest districts in Georgia. And, she was going out there, she was still representing the things that her people cared about, and yet she's still talking about this as well. And so I thought that she just really represented a good balance. Now, of course, Massey, he approached that issue from more of like his classic libertarian standpoint, and that we just shouldn't. He has since pushed back a little bit more from just hey, this is wrong. It's just wrong, right? Yeah, to the way that Trump, which he has hated Massey for a really long time,
right.
But yeah, the way that they organized against him was, and just the way that Trump needlessly inserted himself, because he could have just held back. Because the thing is that Thomas Massie, for the most part, had actually supported almost all of his agendas. There was a handful of votes that, Massie, I don't know, maybe could have given a little bit on. I don't know. He always made like decent points. It's just the whole thing had become such a shit show at that point. To me, it just didn't matter either way what he said. But Trump, it was so personal for him. But his betrayal of Marjorie Taylor Greene, to me, was just so dirty,
Right.
and just so really unforgivable in a way. Like, someone who had been through what she had been through in supporting him, and he just threw her to the wolves like that. And it was kind of like, just F you freaking ugh.
Right.
So
now, at the time that happened, were you still nominally a Republican, or had you already walked away from being active?
Oh no! And by that point, I was really, after Charlie Kirk, I was pretty much done. After he was murdered in broad daylight, clearly by some sort of operation. Nope, don't buy the Tyler Robinson line. I think it's BS. I think it's.
Oh really? You don't think kids in their 20s write like a dime store pulp novel from the Depression? You don't think those are real texts?
I don't think that kids in their 20s with no mental health issues, no history of violence or outbursts or even political activism whatsoever, wake up one day and decide to commit first-degree murder and then find their way onto college campuses they've never been to and somehow know exactly where it is they're supposed to go to, and then slide grandpa's antique rifle out of their blue jeans, line up, with their scope that they, had to put back on the, no tripod, no nothing like that. They're just lining it up, and scope's already, realigned perfectly. It's resting on the backpack. Fire off the perfect shot, that somehow Charlie Kirk's, bones of steel were able to stop.
Adamantium.
Yeah, it's quite incredible when you really slow it down. So no, I don't buy that at all. And no one did. I know plenty of people, in and around the administration. I know a lot of staffers on the Hill. No one believed it. And they were all too cowardly, all too chicken shit to stand up and demand real accountability and a real investigation. And so now we have this Yahoo, this just drunken idiot out there, Kash Patel and his country music sensation girlfriend, pushing this absolute slop on us, and everyone just kind of went along with it. And then they tried to use it to make us hate the left again. They wanted to be like, it was like we were somehow back in 2016 or 2017 again. And so, no, I was really disgusted with them over that. It was so wild to me that when people would say, oh, you really think that Israel would do that? I'm like, Israel's shooting children in the head. Okay. So yeah, like the idea that they would assassinate a grown man who posed an actual threat to them because he was done with their movement and he commanded the largest, most well-organized youth conservative movement in the country, the idea that they would want to take him out, I don't even understand how you're fighting me on this. So,
all right, Mel, thank you very much for joining. Where can people find you?
You can find me on X or Substack, Village Crazy Lady. There's no A in the village because there's a character limit. And you can always find me there every day. I'm doing a series on the NAR, the New Apostolic Reformation, where it came from and really how it started to become intertwined and how it really was able to take control of our Republican Party. And so,
is that related to like the Schofield Bible, or is this something else?
It's It's so Scofield Bible is very old. If you go and if you are curious about where dispensationalism originally comes from, that's pinned on my profile right now. But that the NAR is different. It was actually started in the 70s. It's kind of this weird CIA propped up. It's not CIA funded initially, but there's lots of intelligence links in there. There's links to Mir Khanna, the founder of the Calvary Chapel. Just came across something on him the other day that was fascinating, and his links to Khanna. So yeah, you start to see this. It's this new movement that comes up, and they really kind of tried to attach themselves to the old stuff to kind of distract from the fact that actually they made it all up in the starting in the 70s. So
all right, I will definitely check that out. That sounds right up my alley. So you're primarily on X. That's where people should primarily find you. All right, Mel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So that was Mel. Are we going to go to a break?
If you're struggling with cravings, bloating, or stubborn weight gain, your gut health could be playing a bigger role than you think. A damaged microbiome can affect everything from inflammation and digestion to cravings and weight gain. And with today's processed foods and environmental toxins, a lot of people's digestive health is taking a hit, which is why taking care of your gut health may be more important now than ever before. That's where a fermented food called kimchi can make a real difference. Kimchi is naturally rich in over 900 probiotic strains that help support gut bacteria. Because when your gut bacteria are properly supported, your body is better able to process food efficiently, regulate cravings, support digestion, and maintain a healthier metabolism overall. Studies even show that eating kimchi can reduce your body fat by 31.8%. But supporting your gut microbiome takes consistency, and most people aren't eating kimchi every day because of the taste, smell, or the hassle that comes with it. That's why I don't eat it. But I do take, guess what? Kimchi One. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One, delivering the benefits of fermented kimchi in a convenient capsule form to help restore your gut's natural balance every day. Because when your body is functioning properly from the inside out, everything else becomes easier. Today, you can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link below for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order or free shipping. Call them now at 888-253-0418.
All right, we're back. Russell Dobular filling in for Jimmy Dore. We have next up Blakely Bartley. She is an American singer and content creator who's gained a significant following online from her satirical and politically pointed videos on TikTok and Instagram, commenting on current events, including the widely shared piece, "We Are Israelis." We also have a common enemy, Michael Schellenberger, although I think I'm the only one of the two of us that's been physically attacked by Michael Schellenberger. Please welcome Blakely. Is your mic on?
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
That's all right. I didn't know you sang.
Dude, that was an old vibe. Two things missing from it now.
Your mic is kind of messed up. You having a tech? Yeah.
Wait, I think I know. Wait.
Happens to me all the time. Don't worry about it.
How about now?
It's a little like, speak again.
Can you hear me now?
It's a little like gravelly. And I'm getting I'm getting feedback. Like I'm hearing myself a little bit.
Okay, hold on. Let me try one more thing because I think it's because of my headphones.
All right. Sometimes just have to test it on the air. I can hear myself when I speak. You probably can too. All right, now I can't. All right, so maybe it's no. Now I can again. We're gonna clip this. So Andrew, this is clip number 6 here.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, but let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm getting feedback. I'm getting like I'm hearing myself. Getting an echo.
Let me try leaving and coming back. Hold on.
All right. All right, how we doing? Speak more.
Can you hear me now without the feedback?
There we go.
Okay.
Woo! All right. I was like, well, this is going to be a short show.
Yeah, no, totally. No, I was like, actually, the little short bio blurb you read was almost accurate. Two things. They put she, which I'm non-binary, so I don't use she pronoun.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. But also, I also don't really go by my last name, and that's mostly to spare my extended family right now. So I just go by Blakely, or I am Blakely is like the handle that I use. I don't usually. New York Post though use my last name, and then they put it as my first name and called me Bartley Blakely.
I was actually a little surprised your last name was in there because I've never seen it anywhere.
Yeah, because I don't really use it, like publicly. I don't use it.
Right. Yes. All right. So slow news week here in New York. Blakely's over there. What are you in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, right in the commie corridor.
You're in Brooklyn. I am in Harlem, not the commie corridor, although you do have Revolution Books up here. Just kind of a hotbed of radical politics up in Harlem. So big Mamdani sweep last night.
Yeah.
All of his endorsed candidates won. I personally did not see that coming. I thought he was going out on a limb with Valdez. I thought Chevalier would win. Lander looked like a layup. That one surprised me, especially as large as the victory was. So a little bit here about this. Last night was a catastrophic night for AIPAC. Let's count the bodies. New York 10, Dan Goldman, Levi Strauss heir. Yeah. You know what they call Nepo babies in China? I've been trying to make this a thing. It's not catching though. But I loved it. They call them lucky boys and lucky girls. That's the term for Nepo baby. I love it.
That's amazing. I love that.
Lucky boy, Dan Goldman. 253 million net worth, 377,000 in AIPAC donations, backed by Governor Hochul and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Lost to Brad Lander 66-34. Called by New York 1 less than 10 minutes after polls close. Ouch. Lander took zero AIPAC money, called Gaza a genocide, and won with 11,000 plus grassroots donors. Goldman said at their June 1st debate, Israel is not the most important issue in this district. Voters disagreed by 32 points. New York 13, that's my neck of the woods. 5-term incumbent Adriano Espaillat, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, fell to 32-year-old public defender Daria Liza Avia Chevalier, 49-45. I think she actually won by more than that now. AIPAC and its allied super PACs funneled nearly $3 million through Shell PAC Bold America to defend Espaillat. Voters in East Harlem said the AIPAC money was their breaking point. One voter told reporters it was the last straw. Espaillat had taken over $676,000 from AIPAC over his career. Didn't matter. You know who was actually very excited about Dan Goldman losing? Donald J. Trump. Weak and pathetic Congressman Dan Goldman just lost big. I guess people didn't like him illegally targeting President Trump. In any event, this jerk is finally gone. President DJT. So let's take a look for anyone who's not familiar. This was kind of a really resonant moment in the debates where they asked Espaillat whether he would consider what was happening in Israel a genocide.
The question, do you believe Israel has committed genocide on the Palestinian people since the October 7th attacks? You're a yes.
Yes.
Do you believe that it was genocide?
It's a horrific situation in Gaza, unimaginable. Men, women, and children have been killed, innocent people, and whoever perpetrated that action should be held to the highest standard of accountability. It's horrific, and there are international entities that, like the United Nations and the International Court, that have established what it is.
The United Nations has called it a genocide.
Okay, so she won, and our friend Professor Zenkus here pointed out a little irony about this victory. Daria Liza Avia Chevalier, who was an organizer at the Palestinian Solidarity encampments at Columbia University, worked closely with Mahmoud Khalil and Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace, both groups later banned by Columbia University. And just 2 years after that same Columbia administration called the NYPD to violently break up those encampments, has now become the next Congress member to represent the district, which includes Columbia University. Free Palestine. Indeed. So this is without giving away too much about where I am, this was very close to me. I could have run into him. This is right by my polling station.
I didn't know he was a Congress member, Espaillat.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's really funny.
Yeah. No, Espaillat, this is right at the Schoenberg Center. So Ryan Grimm happened to be out there. I went and voted that day. Like, I could very easily have run into him. I was 3 blocks off from here. But you can see how popular he is with the voters here. And Ryan Grimm kind of found his way over there too.
You stop defending genocide, Congressman? When will you condemn the genocide in Gaza? When will you condemn the genocide in Gaza? The community is furious with you. Furious with you because you supported genocide. You supported genocide. You never lived that down. It's not too late.
Because they have their actual points. They don't actually have policy. She literally said, I'm just going to go to D.C. and do whatever Mamdani said. We're standing on Malcolm X Boulevard. Malcolm X said stand for something or fall for nothing. This lady showed up in February. If she cared about Harlem, she could have organized throughout her years. She's been here for 15 years, right? She went to Columbia. She only ever did one protest. This man has almost gotten arrested for how many immigrants? For how many protests?
Hey, how are you?
One speaks, one shows. How many members of Congress do you know is outside on the street?
So Espaillat has a hype man there talking about how they're on Malcolm X Boulevard. Yeah. What side of this do you think Malcolm X would have been on? What are you even talking about?
I love how he goes. He's done so much for immigrants. It's unbelievable. Notably, not Mahmoud Khalil or his wife who tried to reach out to him. But also, I'm so amused by the fact that they are trying to make her a white gentrifier. Like, they really were trying to make that happen.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that
Black and Dominican Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah, a Black and Dominican Muslim. But then they also tried to do that angle. They were throwing anything at the wall to see what would stick. They were trying to do she's actually like a gentrifier who she works at Columbia. She's a PhD. She's never done nothing. But it wasn't working. And then they tried maybe she's trying to great replacement theory her way in here. She's actually Haitian and Muslim. So it was just disgusting, dirty tactics. And it's funny that you said the thing about who you didn't think was going to win. Probably because I live in New York 7. I was not surprised Claire won at all.
Right. I live here and I thought she would win. So I don't know your district. You're right.
Right. So I was the most nervous about and the most unsure about Daria Lisa. I thought that was going to be the one that maybe she wouldn't win. Not because I didn't think that she could, but because I feel like they ran the dirtiest campaign against her.
They did.
To be fair to Nidia Velázquez and to Antonia Reynoso, I don't think that they did a couple of things. They tried to paint her also as a gentrifier. Oh, you don't know the district, this and that. They threw some shit at her she took money from, I don't know, whatever. But it could have been a lot more dirty. They didn't go as nearly as low as they either could have and or as Espaillat did. And she obviously won by a lot, and I wasn't surprised she won by a lot, even though Antonio Reynoso had all the endorsements, not just from the establishment. Right. He got all the establishment endorsements, but he also got all the endorsements from all the progressive groups, Working Families Party and a bunch of the unions. And, Tish James is still considered a progressive, and all of these people.
Oh, we'll get to her.
I know. I was waiting for that too. I know. I was yes, but she still won. So I think that Mamdani's endorsement definitely played a huge part because he did have a lot of backing. But I also think that there was a lot of and we'll get to it when we get to Tish James. There was a lot of entitlement a lot of entitlement, despite the fact that they were saying around Claire, oh, she's just, you know, a gentrifier and it's Mamdani and Antonio Reynoso knows the district. And I'm not taking that away from him. Yes, he knows the district pretty well. He's been living here for a long time. So much so to the point, though, where everybody was already talking about how it was his seat before Nydia Velasquez even announced she was that she was retiring. And I think that entitlement from the establishment progressives, really turned a lot of people off.
I think this also really demonstrated how much juice Mamdani has right now, because in Harlem, I kept saying, I even dropped a video on X about it. Espaillat had all the money, because when I walked around the neighborhood, I saw one bank of posters near my house for her, and that's it. All the literature was Espaillat. When I would go for a walk, if I passed by polling stations, no literature for her, no volunteers for her, only Espaillat volunteers out handing out flyers. That was, I thought, the biggest advantage that he had, because a lot of people don't follow this. They don't really know who's running. They know who handed them a flyer. And I was getting mailers every day in my mailbox from Espaillat's campaign about how the Democratic Socialists want to defund the police and you're going to have crime-ridden neighborhoods. And she still did not only won, she won pretty convincingly. That's a lot of juice. I also think, having lived in Harlem for 20 years, part of it is Espaillat. That was very disappointing for a lot of the Black community when he won, because that seat was held by Adam Clayton Powell Jr. from 1945 to 1970, and was held by Charlie Rangel from 1970 to 2016. There have been a Black person in that seat from 1945 to 2016. So, especially with questions of demographic shifts and gentrification, it was very shocking to a lot of the Black community. And I think the kinds of attacks that they launched on her probably backfired on that level in that community that already was never all that hot on Espaillat to begin with.
I agree. I think you're right about that, especially since she won Black voters, in that there was like polling that, or exit polling already that came out that said that she won Black voters. And listen, it's the best of both worlds. She's Afro-Latina, so she's Dominican and she's Black.
Right. There you go.
So it's the best of both worlds. Also, though, but you're right. I agreed that I think it probably backfired because they were being so dirty about it. Yeah, they were being so racist toward her. Like, they were all like going in, there was like leaked messages in WhatsApp about how they were calling her like, oh, well, she's Black, oh, she's Haitian, like being super racist, and then claiming that she was gonna usher in like Haitian immigrants to take the place of the Dominican. All of this shit. Like, it was really disgusting.
And that was exactly the wrong move for him to pull, because Harlem was never that hot on him. It was weird. It was one of those things. He got in a year where there was no credible challenger. So his base of Latino support was enough, because there was no one that really excited the Black community that year. You had Adam Clayton Powell IV, who was just a Nepo baby who had never really done anything. You had some Clinton machine guy running. So he was able to win. And then, once an incumbent is in, it's very difficult to get them out. But all it took was someone with some momentum, because he never really had that kind of support here.
Yeah, which is wonderful, because he's trash. And he's like, again, like, I was so happy. I was the most excited about her, because like, if we're talking from like the horse race perspective, because if Antonio Reynoso had won, I would say I'd be upset. I would be upset. But because I don't think he is that progressive, and he was super late on the genocide thing. But there are worse people than Antonio Reynoso.
Sure,
like, he's not the worst they could have put up. You know what I mean? Espaillat is trash. He's such a corrupt piece of shit. He plays dirty all the time. You showed his answer. What a joke that answer was. And also he's a powerful incumbent. He's the head of the Hispanic Progressive or the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. And he had all the endorsements from Hakeem Jeffries and like all of the, DC establishment. So that made it all the more like it was just like it just made it so much better. So much better. Because it was like, yes. And I love them crying about how but he did endorse Zoran, not until after the primary, bitch. And you know why I love this so much? I love it so much because you never see people on the left do that. Like play politics, like ever. Like it's always like, what if we kiss the ass of the establishment? What if we did that instead? Like, and so I just actually love that they were like, well, Mamdani said that he probably would support him. And then he's like, actually, I'm not. I'm going to endorse this person, which I absolutely love. Because I'm like, he sucks, and he didn't endorse Mamdani. And I think it's great that they swept. I was obviously thrilled to see Dan Goldman lose, but I was expecting it. Like, I knew he was going to lose.
Yes. Yeah.
So it just was, but it was still satisfying as hell because he's such a hack. And his wife's a psycho, by the way. I know that his wife is not in politics or whatever, but she's also a lunatic Zionist that, like, retweets deranged shit. So I'm glad to see him gone.
Well, what other kind of wife would that guy have?
Oh my gosh. True. So that was so like, it was just, I am not going to lie. I have been injected into my veins, watching all of the Blue MAGA Democrats meltdown. They all were like, Espaillat's going to win and oh, la, 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 la. And I'm just like, it's so much. Like, I'm just like,
Well, because for so long, I don't know how old you are, but it seems like you might not have been fully in the whole Bernie Hillary thing. These guys have been kicking the shit out of the left for a very long time, and they're pretty confident.
Intro.
What's that?
The Bernie Hillary thing was my political intro. That was the first time I ever voted.
So there you go. There you go.
But I saw it. And I was like, Well,
I'm gonna get into that with you too, because the whole Mamdani thing has created a lot of conversation with a lot of people who were burned by the Sanders campaigns or feel burned by them. So let's see a little bit of Mamdani's victory speech there.
This evening, whether for state assembly, state senate, or Congress, is that a year ago, it was not the end of a political movement. It was the beginning. And I want to thank you because in this room, I see those who believed no matter what tweet they read from Michael Lang. They believed. They put that anxiety into shifts. They put it into door knocks, into phone calls. Raise your hand if you canvassed. Those are the hands that won this race. And every single one of these incredible candidates, they are going to be the partners in transforming the most expensive city in the United States of America into one that working New Yorkers can afford. So one more time, let's hear it for Diana Moreno. Let's hear it for David Orkin. Let's hear it for Samantha Catan. Let's hear it for Abir Kawas. Let's hear it for Claire Valdez. And let's hear it for a politics that will never forget working people. For a politics that is ready to write a new chapter in our party's history. And for a politics that realizes the old politics that got us to this crisis is not the politics that's going to get us out of this crisis.
All right. Now I just want to take a look at one more thing from him. Then we'll talk about the whole DSA, post-duopoly, all this stuff. All right, so Mamdani gave a speech that was, if you're a native New Yorker like I am, from the generation I'm from, it was pretty remarkable to see a New York mayor give a speech about how AIPAC is moving around dark money and dividing us and creating violence. So he was asked about that. And to your point about backing down, he doubled down. So this is what he said when he was asked about that.
Of the Jewish community, including Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer, were alarmed by the language he used at the rally last week, calling AIPAC monsters who move dark money. These are phrases that invoke old anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracy theories. What do you say to those who are concerned that the language you used is dangerous?
Now, I want to be very clear. We're talking about a status quo where children are being killed on a daily basis. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed by the Israeli military since the so-called ceasefire. Even an Al Jazeera journalist, Ahmed Wishah, was killed this past Saturday by an Israeli strike. And when I am speaking about AIPAC, I'm speaking about an organization that has been supportive of the status quo, that has fought any attempt to actually deliver safety to people, not just in Palestine, but frankly, through much of the region. And it is a status quo for immorality. It is one that I will not accept. And when it comes to the way in which they defend the status quo, oftentimes they defend it through direct contributions, as we are seeing right now in New York 13. Oftentimes they also support the status quo through dark money, by filtering money that would have previously been directly from AIPAC, now through other shell organizations whose identities of their contributors are only made clear after an election. And I think that it is important that when we ask ourselves how such death and destruction is happening overseas, we also name those who allow it to take place.
All right, we're going to go.
So, yeah, he did not do what we expect from Democrats at this point. They're going to walk it back. They're going to massage it. They're going to, on the one hand, on the other, they're going to Obama it. I think a lot of people expected him to be more of an Obama in that way than he ended up being. So this comes at the end, I think, of a long road for a lot of people, or maybe the midpoint. We'll see how things play out. You know, you had a lot of people, myself included, really got into politics in the Bernie campaign, like got serious about politics in that campaign. And a lot of us were sweet summer children about what the Democratic Party was. And that was this really eye-opening and very traumatic experience, I think, for a lot of people. Bernie, at that point, he still had credibility with his movement. So when he called for them to stay inside the Democratic Party and reform it, a lot of people heeded that call and then were kicked in the teeth again and again with Obama, with the what I call the Monday Night Massacre, the night before Super Tuesday, with frankly, and we'll get into this with the Tisha James thing, with the Squad, with AOC, with backing these people who were supposed to be, we're kind of doing what the post-Goldwater Republicans did, starting with the smaller seats and building up, and then they all just turned on us. People went post-duopoly. They walked away. I personally, I think a lot of people felt at the time, and I said this to people, 10 years from now, the things that we're fighting for are going to take over the Democratic Party. But it's going to take about 10 years for that to happen. It seems like when you look at all these victories, that's what's happening now. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people are so bitter, they can't take part in what I would argue is their own victory. Like they're the people, like those troops who went out there in the snow in New Hampshire for Bernie Sanders and wouldn't let it go, and frankly wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris as long as she was supporting a genocide. That broke the lips. The fact that Trump came back finally actually disillusioned them to the point about their preferred media and what they had been shoveled all these years. Like, how many times are you going to tell people, oh yeah, no, Hillary's going to flip Texas, before they finally say these people have no idea what they're talking about. Maybe those Sanders people were right the whole time. So I don't know where I are you a DSA member? Are you in the DSA?
No, I used to be. I let my membership lapse, and I honestly don't even remember what they did to piss me off. They did something that pissed me off, and then I was like, I'm not renewing my membership. And then I forgot. I think it had something to do with them not fighting Biden. It had something to do with that because like we kept
not
getting
fighting what?
Biden, like the Biden administration.
Ah, right. Okay.
Because I remember hearing like people kept saying like, oh, we're going to push Biden. But then I felt like anytime we would criticize Biden, they were always running to his rescue and being like, leave him alone.
Yes.
So I feel like, so I was, and then I let it lapse, but like, I'm not opposed to them. Some people really like hate the DSA. Like I'm not opposed to them. I think that, you know, I have to give them their flowers on this. Like they actually do the work. Like they actually are out there showing up, doing the work, actually doing a lot of things that a lot of people who sit on the sidelines and complain all the time don't actually do. So, you know, I give them credit for, and I don't agree with everything that the DSA says, but this is how like I explain it to people when like they ask why I was so supportive of all the DSA candidates is that like I don't agree with everything DSA stands for. For instance, the whole like abolish the police thing. I'm not abolish prison, whatever. I'm not with that. However, that is not going, like, I have way more in common with the DSA and or with people who even would identify themselves as communists, which I don't identify as, but I've got more in common with them than I do with Hakeem Jeffries. So then why is it that whenever somebody's like more like progressive, like I would consider myself progressive, how come whenever somebody's progressive, it's always acceptable for them to align with the more right-wing factions, but it's never acceptable for them to align with the left-wing factions, even if they don't agree with the left on everything? You can't. It's always got to just go one way, you know? So like, it'll be like, oh, if you disagree with the left on one thing, you can't be a part of it. But I've got a lot more in common with them than I do with the moderates. So I was broadly very supportive of all of them. Like I didn't agree with everything that Daria Lisa, you know, stands for. However, I'm like her over Espaillat any day of the week. Any day of the week. And also like a lot of things I do agree with her on. And for me, like, you know, to me, it's where I've changed because I've gone through that same evolution of like, oh my gosh, feeling totally betrayed by the party with what they did to Bernie Sanders. And then also what it feels like they also did during his second run with helping Biden and all dropping out. And then also like once Biden got in, they all tried to like gaslight us and tell us he was FDR instead of like actually like pushing him and, you know, demonizing
dementia. What dementia?
Yeah, exactly. But also gaslighting us when I criticized them for breaking up the Build Back Better bill, even though they claim we would be pushing them to the left. Pramila Jayapal, that useless, feckless fucking member of Congress, came out and is like, he's actually the most progressive president we've ever had. And we have a seat at the table. And I was like, listen, I know that progressives are used to losing, but just having a seat at the table, if they're not listening to you, doesn't actually mean anything. And like, that's my thing. That's my thing too, is that it's not just a policy thing. Progressives in the left always piss me off because they're so fucking pathetic. It's always like, can we please? And it's like, why aren't you ever adversarial? Why? Which is why I was so excited about Mamdani, because it was like the first time that I even saw like an inkling of like adversarial energy where like, I'm like, yes, no, because at least for me, I'm not interested in the whole AOC approach of let me kiss their ass and talk about my colleagues and how we like need to work together. Like, absolutely not. No. Listen, these people should, when they're like, when Tish James is like, oh, I'm like, no, these people should be crushed, actually. I don't want to hang out with these people. I don't want, and I feel like the left is always like begging for scraps instead of ever being aggressive. And so that's why I was excited about Mamdani, his win, but also like his energy during this, where he endorsed this whole slate, because it's like, no, that's the energy I want to see. I don't want to see you kissing their ass and talking about how you need to do this. And it's actually 8D chess not to stand up to them or primary them. And, oh, AOC's just keeping her powder dry and la, 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 la. I'm not interested in that, okay? I want to see the energy of him being like, oh, actually, I am going to primary Espaillat, actually. Like,
which was a very bold move, because if it had backfired on him, now you made enemies.
Yes.
Now you have people who are going to work actively against you. So speaking of
they are mad.
Speaking of our old friend AOC, Tish James shared this out. My friend AOC and I never back down. We deliver. So here they are. Where's that ad? That one, I think, right? Oh no, we'll get to that.
Jump scare.
Hang on, did I load that in? I did, right? Oh no, hang on, I don't have it. Oh no, I do, right? Yeah, there it is. Okay.
You deserve an attorney general who has the courage to fight for you. And that's Letitia James.
I've spent my career going after people who thought they were above the law.
And when corporations ripped off working people,
we made them pay more than $9 billion for the people of this great state.
And when guns flooded our streets and threatened our lives,
we took nearly 10,000 of them off of our streets. And we need leaders in Washington who will stand up for our neighbors. When the director of ICE came after AOC for doing her job, she had one answer.
Bring it on, because no one is going to stop us from defending our rights and our communities. Not Donald Trump, not the lobbyists, not anyone.
That's the AOC I know, a leader who delivers, bringing back millions in federal dollars to our neighborhoods.
Since getting elected, I've secured nearly $50 million for the Bronx and Queens.
We will continue to protect our communities, lower costs, and help working families prosper.
Vote
June 23rd.
Okay, so she didn't endorse any of her fellow DSA member candidates. I guess she's a little too big for DSA to excommunicate her. Kate Willits shared this out. This is who AOC endorsed and did ads with while staying utterly silent about Daria, Liza, and Claire. AOC is working tirelessly for something, but it isn't to end U.S. imperialism or build a socialist electoral movement. No socialist org should co-sign this. And of course, Tisha James marched with the Israeli war criminals that came for the Israel Day Parade, including Beelzebub Smotrich, as we call him. And Brianna Joy Gray shared out, tickled pink that they're doing Bernie Bro redux about a bunch of Black, Latino, Muslim female candidates. Not too surprising. Today, Tisha James came out to express her displeasure at the results. She had endorsed the other side in all of these races. One particularly notable critic of his endorsements, his meaning Mamdani, in Tuesday's primary was New York Attorney General Letitia James, a key backer during his campaign. Quote, some of the candidates that he has supported are individuals who do not understand the politics of New York City, the cultural differences from district to district, who have not been part of the history. So you don't even have to be white to get Bernie Broed. And the struggle of some of these districts and are relatively new to the body politic, James told CNN, pointing particularly to what she said was Mamdani's lack of understanding of race and class issues that run deep. James said she and other political leaders she's spoken to are disappointed in Mamdani. All of us are a little frustrated with the Democratic Party, but you don't blow it up. That's what MAGA has done. All right, so this is who runs the party. And these people took a blow last night, but Tisha James definitely represents the people, like Jamie Harrison tweeted out that thing, don't use our resources if you hate us as a party. These are the people who run it. And that is why people justly so, even with what Mamdani's doing, which so much is in accord with what so many people have fought for so long, they still don't want to fuck with the Democrats because they feel like,
Totally.
all it's going to take is Obama gets up there, makes a speech, and screws the whole thing.
Right, which is understandable because, and I don't fault anyone for that. First of all, I keep always saying this too when people try to like constantly bully people when it comes to politics. It is the responsibility of the candidate to inspire the people. And if they don't, that's on them. That is not on the people. And people have every right not to trust them. Why should they? Like, and why should anybody even trust the left for that matter, or like the DSA or whatever, when you look at how AOC has moved in Congress? And I know that a lot of people who are AOC stans will run to her defense and say, like, you don't understand. She's playing AD chess. She's keeping her powder dry. Don't criticize her. She's our best hope for 2028. First of all, she's our best hope for 2028. Oh, hang it up. Hang it up. We're already not going to win. Okay. So that's number one. But number two, I understand, and I always bring this up, this caveat, that there are a lot of deranged attacks on AOC. And so people get, like jumpy about it because there are a lot of deranged attacks on her, a lot of very real misogynistic, psychotic attacks on her. But that's not where people like me who are critiquing her or criticizing her are coming from it at. Where I come from it is, I think a lot of people, very similar to Bernie Sanders, is disappointment that she had so much promise, disappointment that, and it's whatever. I get, like, you got to move on. Like, okay, we're very disappointed by AOC. She's not what she promised to be. Okay, we're moving on. No, the problem that I still have with it is that they're still constantly trying to position her as a leader of the left.
Right.
And you don't get to position yourself as a leader of the left if you're going to be doing shit like not putting your neck out and endorsing, Daria Liza over Espaillat. I'm sorry. There's no, but I got into an argument with Adam Carlson on Twitter. He's like, yeah, but you don't understand. She was friends and a mentee of Nydia Velázquez. Cool story. I'm glad you guys are friends and you guys can hang out over tea and strumpets, but this is politics and she should have endorsed the DSA candidate. It is that kind of shit that makes me think, I'm sorry. Again, I don't think AOC is the worst person in Congress. She doesn't have the worst voting record. But I can't stand them always trying to shove down this she's a great leader situation.
Well, that's how you know they turned her. When you're getting a foot rub from Jen Psaki, they turned you.
Right. Well, that's the other thing, is that it's like how comfortable and like excited a lot of the establishment are with her now is already making me side-eye the fuck out of her, and has for a while. But even if like that wasn't the case, she doesn't move like somebody who is willing to take a risk as a leader. She moves in a very, very cautious way, and I'm not interested in that.
Right. I mean, I have a theory. There's that video of the Iron Dome vote where Pelosi whispers something in her ear and she starts crying afterwards, and she abstained on that vote. She broke her, man. She was never the same after that. A lot of people say she was always CIA. I don't buy it, man. Something happened there. I think she went up there and said, join me and I will complete your training. And she wound up taking the offer. She went to the dark side. She was never the same after that vote. She was never the same after that.
And I always wonder what happens to them, because it's like they get to Congress and then all of a sudden they just, I'm like, do they all go into a room and get like Epstein taped? Like, what is going on? Why do so many of these people?
I mean, some people say they show them the JFK assassination from a different angle.
I'm like, honestly, I'm like, does something happen? Because why is it that they go in one way and then although to be fair to some of the other people, like Cori Bush really was pretty consistent throughout her entire tenure, and that's why they primaried her. But I don't know. So yeah, my thing is, like, I thought it was super cringe that she did not endorse Daria Liza being the AOC of that district. Okay. She took out a very powerful incumbent. If anything, actually, AOC did not have as hard of a time as Daria Liza because they didn't really realize that AOC was AOCing him until late. With Daria Liza, they were coming down on her like a month before. Like, it was before, and like AOC could have made a difference and didn't. And again, did not endorse in New York 7. She didn't endorse the Palestinian that ran for the state Senate. I mean, there was a bunch of people she didn't endorse, but then she ran out very quickly to tell everybody not to endorse that one woman in Texas because she was an anti-Semite.
Right.
And she needs to endorse that one hack that's running against her. And it's like that kind of shit where I'm like, bruh, like.
Well, she morphed into an establishment Democrat at this point.
She didn't endorse Shoykat Chakrabarti, which also annoyed me only because, tell us why. If you're not going to endorse him, because I wanted to know why. Is he a sex pest? Because if he is, you should tell us. Like, what did he do that made you be a fraud? Because if he's a fraud, you should tell us that too. The fact that she was being so annoying about it, I'm going to stay out of that race, but then not tell us why she wasn't endorsing him. Again, I just thought it was so annoying. So to me, it's like, again, I'm not one of these people that like hates AOC with a passion. Like some people really hate her. Like I don't hate her. On the other hand, I also am not interested in her. Like, I'm not interested in your presidential run. I'm not interested in your triangulation. And I don't trust you. And it's not because you're an epic Latinx woman who's willing to, run and talk about anti-Semitism constantly. No, it's because I think that, again, despite the fact that there are way worse people in AOC than AOC in Congress, like I said, of course, her voting record is not terrible. I see the way she moves and the way that when she does things like coming out and condemning the anti-genocide protesters and basically pretending to play dumb and act like she didn't know why they were there and act like it was because, like pretty simple. It's anti-Semitic. Like it was just so cringe that I was just like, okay, to me, the reason why I don't trust her is because whether she's CIA or whatever or not, she clearly, and she's shown this time and time again, because I've given her lots of chances. Okay. I've given her lots of chances. She's shown time and time again that she's a careerist. She's interested in her career.
Well, that's it.
She's interested in moving up in the party. And that is why she doesn't do things that made me really like her in the first place. When she got elected, I was very excited about her. And I remember loving
I campaigned for her when she was a bartender. When she was still bartending, I was out handing out flyers and getting signatures in Astoria.
Right. And then when the Bernie thing happened, like I remember being really like giving her so much credit and being like, she's amazing because she endorsed Bernie Sanders after he had his heart attack. And I was like, yeah, that was so brave of her, like to come out like that when the establishment was against her. So I think, but like since then, like you said, the Iron Dome thing, I don't know if it was a combination of that. And maybe also, I think that she was also broken by the attacks from the media. It seems like, the media really came after her and it really affected her. And whatever it is, I don't know the reason. Again, like I am not arguing at all that she hasn't come under some deranged attacks. But because of that, she was tested and showed me over time that, again, it wasn't one thing she did that I was like, fuck her. It was like, over time, I kept seeing her capitulate. And I was like,
right.
Okay, you are not. If
she morphed into Nancy Pelosi.
Exactly.
She
and
morphed
if she
into the next generation Nancy Pelosi.
Right. And if she were to say a congresswoman in New York 14 and continue to vote very progressively, I'd be like, okay. But the reason why I still come down on her sometimes is because I know that they think that they're going to run her for president in 2028. Well,
that's the one thing that could get Marco Rubio elected. All right. So quickly, I want to drink some. I want to drink some tears. I think we should drink some tears. Meghan McCain, to my beautiful Jewish friends in America, we love you. You are not alone. We are just as freaked out as you are, and see with clear eyes exactly what is happening. So Professor Zinkus responded, look at you, fear-mongering to try and regain relevance. And Margaret Kimberly, I'm glad you own being a Nepo baby in your profile. But the best response was Matt Lieb. What about your ugly Jewish friends? Guess we can all go fuck ourselves.
Yes.
New York Post, listen, man. New York Post is unequaled with their headlines. I got to give them credit. The hateful slate. 3 Israel cop and private property hating Mamdanites. Mamdanites, that's new. Win Democrat congressional primaries. Well done, New York Post. Evil, but well done.
Yes.
Fat Randy. What is happening in New York tonight should scare every American. The Democrat Party there no longer seeks to make America prosper. It seeks to destroy it. Ben Shapiro. Last night, a bunch of candidates who literally despise America won in NYC. Establishment Dems who live in fear of their radicalized base. Oh, yeah. They never cross their base. Will cave to them. By 2028, people who hate the country and wish to destroy it could be in charge. Kind of seems like that's the situation we're in now, actually.
Right. Also, they really don't understand the Democrats at all. Like, they see no distinction between the Democratic base, people like Espaillat and Daria Liza. They live in this world where they think that the Democratic Party's leadership and that the party itself loves the left. Like,
where there's like a left. I mean, there's not a left any more than at the top of the show, I interviewed Mel, who's basically walked away from the Republican Party, still considers herself a Republican Christian, but Israel was the thing that made her say, I can't vote for this anymore. You have that. You have the Marjorie Taylor Greens. You have the Thomas Masseys. I think a lot of them do get it, but the market that they're shoveling the shit to doesn't, and they want to keep it that way, that there are distinctions between the left. But you do get a lot of people who don't understand, like Democrats and leftists are not the same. And among people on the left, it's extremely fractious, particularly now. I would say you almost had a unity of rejecting the Democratic Party, and now people are kind of like, well, if you get Democrats who are anti-genocide, what do? You just were never presented with that before, because they all were. Bernie's a Zionist. So like there was really nobody until relatively recently who actually held office who was willing to have that position.
It was literally like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. That was like it.
That was it, for obvious reasons. They were not gonna give away that inch of their soul.
Right.
So Josh Gottheimer, these are the same photo. Enough is enough. Where do we draw the line? So he has graffiti outside Dan Goldman's office saying "Free Palestine" next to 1930s Germany, Jude with the Star of David painted in the window. Katie Halper responded, "These are the same photo. The only thing missing from the recent one is the Star of David, the word Jew, and the sign saying Germans protect yourselves, don't buy from Jews. But besides that, the exact same thing."
He's such a hack.
Johnny Graz. "Let's draw it here, traitor," meaning the line. Look at all that AIPAC money. And that's last year. It's probably racked up a lot more since then. $2 million.
Yeah.
$2 million. Darth Powell here points this out. That's not even a recent picture. A photo from 2023? Maybe Israel should stop giving you money to buy your favor and forcing us into Middle East wars. How about that? Yeah, how about it? And then Dan Bacon, this is how you see how they get told what to put out. Because why would you pick a picture from 2023 out of your hat? Obviously, they're coordinated. Chaucer points it out. Wait a minute. Did you all get your Hasbara script today? Yeah, they did.
Literally.
They did. And it's not just the Zionists. I mean, Kim Iverson said, I think there are 5,000 actual people online, and the rest are bots. I would say she's probably right. It's bots and people who are being paid. Because you get Ashley St. Clair just did all of those videos spilling the beans about how all these MAGA influencers have a chat room they go into and get their marching orders. That's why they all have the same opinion at the same time. Kim Iverson says very sensibly here, so one Jew beat another Jew in NYC, but because the winning Jew is against genocide, people are panicking that this election proves anti-Semitism is thriving in America and a genocide is coming for Jews. Is that right? Yeah, you got it, Kim. Ari Fleischer, free advice for New Yorkers. Get out while you still can. Okay, everyone who takes Ari Fleischer seriously, please take this advice.
Yes.
The rise of socialists in NYC will threaten everyone. Mamdani's power will increase. Socialists will gain more seats, and they're coming next for you. Get out now. NYC is going down the tubes. And you actually responded to this. No one cares. Yeah, no one cares. No one cares. And Elise Stefanik. All right, so this is the bullshit they put out. You know, it's funny. I have a travel channel now, and I do some videos about how tourism is down in New York. And I get all the kind of people who watch Cash Jordan, like, that's not my explanation. My explanation is, well, they fucked tourism with the ICE stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get a rectal exam to come visit the Statue of Liberty. So they decide they're going to go someplace else. They'll say, oh, no, New York is collapsing. It's Mamdani. So she's playing to that. This is where they get that from. Gotham has fallen. The mass exodus out of New York will continue apace. I call it the blue exodus. Last night's sweep of Marxist socialist candidates will further destroy New York City. The virulent anti-Semitism in the socialist campaigns is dangerous not only to Jews, but to every American, because they are attacking the West. If they continue to win, the American dream and Western civilization will fall. Wake up. You know, that's funny that there's this exodus, because Manhattan office leasing is up at records now. Wakefield Cushman.
No exodus.
Wakefield Cushman said the office recovery is no longer mainly measured in terms of a shrinking supply of sublease space, but by demand for direct leases, renewals, and expansions. Growth by tech sectors, including AI, is a major driver of the trend. Meanwhile, according to CBRE, leasing volume in May alone totaled 3.02 million square feet, or 43% above the 5-year monthly average of 2.10 million square feet. It marked only the second time since 2019 that the 3 million benchmark was topped in a single month. So it's quite a blue exodus there with hot real estate market. So those are some of the reactions that we got there from the usual suspects to this. You live here. I live here. My theory of why, look, New York being hated by the rest of the country is an old story. That's a old story.
Yeah.
I think a big part of why reactionary elements in particular are so determined to believe that New York is failing. And this didn't start with Mamdani. This is a very old trope. Right. That's why there's so much money to be made in peddling that online. Yeah. Like San Francisco is falling, LA is falling, New York is falling. These blue cities, there's a big market for that, but none more so than New York. If New York works, then everything they believe is wrong. Right. It's a place where you have people from all over the world in many ways, and this is something they'll never admit. It is the American dream made real at its best, right? It's everyone from all different walks of life, all around the world, living together. We have our moments, but mostly in peace. Mostly people respect each other's differences, kind of a libertarian ideal, right? You live your way, I live my way. Most people in New York just want to go their own way. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone, right? And it is an economic world capital. Now, according to these beliefs that homogeneous societies work better and people are naturally tribal and they can't get along that way, and if you have these kinds of social programs, you're going to have economic collapse. New York is a repudiation of everything they believe. So they have to project this fantasy on New York that it's horrible and everyone's getting lit on fire on the subway and right like that. Why use all of these people? They're supposed to be kind of, local government, small government people. Why you give so much of a shit about a place you don't even live? Why do you care? Like most of these people who obsess on New York City, we voted for it. Like, why do you care? Okay, so what if it's a disaster? You don't live here. Why do you care about that?
That's why I love when they'll be like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to leave. Okay, bye. Bye.
Right. Yes.
If Mamdani wins all the okay, bye. Bye. So my old friend used to say, when people would say that they were going to leave, she would be like, cool. Someone needs your apartment. Like, there are plenty of people but they don't, but they never leave. There is no mass exodus. Like you said, it's just this fantasy that they're constantly projecting. Because New York is like an actual melting pot and a financial capital and a place where, yes, we do have more of a social safety net, certainly than places like Florida do. And it's very diverse and I love it here. And I wouldn't want to live in a really like small, there's nothing, no shade to anybody that does. But I find it interesting that they are so. Why are you so obsessed with me? Why are you so obsessed with me?
Right. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Look, having
small government people.
right. Having traveled around the country and having been fortunate enough to see a fair amount of the world, Spalding Gray used to call New York an island off the coast of America, and in many ways, it's true. It's true. It's not like any place else in the world. It's certainly not like any place else in the country. And why would you need it to be? Like, do you need it to be like the middle of Minnesota? Like, leave it alone. Like, for the most part, the people here, why is this mayor so popular if people are so unhappy? And the kinds of social programs we have, like rent stabilization, that's left over from the progressive era. New York had a long tradition of that over the last 30 years got lit on fire. In a lot of ways, Mamdani being elected is a return to an earlier New York, one that made provisions for working people to be able to live in it. Bloomberg expressly said he didn't think working people should be able to live in New York. This is trying to reverse that. It is amazing that you have so many working people who are so broken and brainwashed that they will get angry at the idea that you're going to tax billionaires and make New York less palpable for them.
I know, it's so bad. There's nothing more having there's nothing more painful than watching some schmuck who makes like 40 grand a year, like lick the boots of billionaires and trillionaires. Like, have some dignity, dude. Like, it's so embarrassing. Like, it hurts. It hurts in the soul. Cause it's like, how do you not why? Because again, because they're brainwashed and they're delusional and they think that that's going to be them.
Hey man, that you want to talk about CIA. That's CIA, man. That's the end result of 60, 70 years of psyops that have been run on the working class.
Totally make you hate yourself. And Mamdani is like a repudiation of that. And I think that is really exciting. And, I'm still I'm watching. Because again, because of the fact that I have been burnt multiple times, whether that be about.
I mean, he kept Tish. He sits down and has meetings with Jamie Dimon. Sure.
Exactly. So it's like, I'm not all for instance, I'm trying to look at politics now more. Okay, I'm going to vote for somebody if I align with what they're saying and we'll see how it goes. And if they don't, then fuck them, rather than getting attached to people. And I know that sounds stupid, but where was different was that I went out of my way this time not to buy any merch of Mamdani before he won, because I didn't want to get that attachment that I got to Bernie Sanders, where I had all this Bernie merch. I had so much Bernie merch. And I'm like, I don't want to do that again.
I still have a couple of shirts in the drawer that will probably never come out again.
Yeah, and I'm like, I want to have a more. I need to have more of a transactional relationship to politics.
Sure.
And that's like what my goal is, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to emotionally become invested either way in loving somebody or in hating them. I'm going to look at the policy and say, do I think this is going to work for me or people that I care about? And I will vote on that basis. Now, I'm trying to be careful of that, because there are moments where I get really excited about Mamdani, where I'm like,
right.
And then I'm going to like throw myself back in and be like, okay, like, remember, he's a politician and you need to be, I'm working on trying to change my relationship, because I think that many of us, people like me who tend to get very passionate, we need to change our relationship to politicians and not treat them like they're our friends, because they're not.
And they're not. Right. You need to figure out what you're trying to achieve, like ending a genocide. And you need to be ruthlessly strategic about it. You're not dating these freaking people, man. You're using them to achieve a goal. That's it. Doesn't matter to me if they're Democrat, Republican, independent. I don't care. Activist, political, politician, whatever. Whoever's gonna help to stop the killing, that's the direction I think is your guiding star.
Yes, for sure. Good way to put it.
All right, Blakely. Thank you very much. The producer's going to shoot me. You know, you get two New Yorkers talking New York.
We could have gone on. Okay, we are being merciful. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for going second chair when I was away.
Oh,
over on Due Distance.
That was really fun. Really fun.
All right, cool. So where do people find you?
All social media, basically. I'm on at I am Blakely.
Yeah, you're everywhere. Say it again.
Just at I am Blakely on like pretty much everything.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Blakely. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Okay, we're gonna go over to Rumble. Oh, should I be doing the super chats now, guys? I can do them. All right, I guess so, since I'm still on. All right, so super chats. Antonat. Russ needs to work on his IG pay intinlay. Okay, I don't get it. Danny D. I'll look back at it later. I'll probably figure it out. Danny D. Does Melissa condemn Hamas? Asking for peers. Funny. From Rumble. Eric Rousseau, our friend. Mel, why do Republicans keep voting for Lindsey Graham? I wish I'd seen this. That would have been a good question for her. Vianticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything. Wait, who the fuck is this guy? That's good. Another one of our fans from Due Distance. Another one from Vianticus Prime. Underneath Matt Walsh's beard is his true gay nature. Yeah, he's a beard, literally. Eric Rousseau, I say fuck both parties and we start a new party, the Dirt Party, and Kurt will lead us. He'd be down for that. Viaticus Prime, I ask again, when will be at the part of the saga where the Zio-Sith are defeated once and for all by the Jedi? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's an eternal battle. Eric Rousseau, I think sometimes the Jedi are up and sometimes the Zio are up. Eric Rousseau, if Trump really wanted to be a hero, he'd invade Israel and confiscate their nukes. That would be nice. At that point, I'd have to change everything I've ever said about Donald Trump. Scooby, this chat is bad for your brain. They're doing all right so far. I've seen worse. Let's put it that way. YouTube, Henry DeShazo. Blakely is the GOAT. Their content is amazing. Cracks me up all the time. Super chat for a better mic. I mean, it got straightened out. Sierra 5867. Why'd Russell get physical with Michael Schellenberger? What's your beef? I didn't say Schellenberger, did I? Did I say Schellenberger? I meant Rappaport. Oh, whoops. Now that's going to be a rumor that's going to haunt me forever. Steve D. Bertram, is it safe to assume that Kurt won't be here? Yes. Steve D. Bertram, Russ has the worst Trump impression. Listen, motherfucker. I'm going with the Chevy Chase, Gerald Ford theory of impersonation. You don't have to do a perfect impersonation. You have to capture the essence of the person. Steve D. Bertram, oh man, how cool would it have been to run into Ryan Grimm, LOL. I mean, I would not have been excited to run into Ryan Grimm. I would have been excited to go over there and see Espiat get yelled at and ask him a couple of questions on camera. Steve Bertram, I'm so sick of hearing about NYC politics. Well, you know what? Maybe y'all should stop paying so much attention to it then. Steve Bertram, I finally understand the concept of hate watching. I finally understand the concept of losers who just keep paying to say stupid shit. Steve Bertram, explain why any of us should care about NYC politics. You don't have to. You could go get a girlfriend. Oh, maybe you can. Roger Meadows, Russ, what role has Columbia University had in re-gentrifying foundational Black American freedmen out of Harlem since 1975? You know, I am not afraid to not know what I don't know. I know Columbia, very much like NYU downtown, has gone on a campaign of purchasing property and real estate uptown. I think a lot of that happened before I moved up here, so I haven't witnessed it. Like in Greenwich Village, I saw it happen because I was very familiar with the area and a lot of the institutions that NYU destroyed. But I'm not as familiar with that, to be honest with you. Steve D. Bertram, I want Russ to have to say tea and strumpets. Well, you got your wish, man. Maybe you'll get a girlfriend too. Zayden, you don't change the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party changes you. DSA needs to run independent socialist candidates, break with the Democrats. You know, I mean, in all seriousness, like I hear what you're saying. You know, that you're not going to win like that 99% of the time. So you got to ask yourself if you want to make a statement or if you want to wield power, because in the system that we have right now, it's going to tend to be either or. And, you know, a lot of people have said since I went to Asia, you changed. Yeah, you know what changed me? I went to the Hanoi Hilton and I saw pictures of Vietnamese people strung up, going blind in the dark for their principles. And then I thought about the left in America doing that. And I said, well, okay, so that's not going to happen. So you need to really be strategic about how you're going to save lives and help people, because that shit's not happening in this country anytime soon. B-Man, Bernie said no right of return for Palestinians. It would destroy Osral. Yeah, because he's a dickhead. Roger Meadows, it is imperative we focus on putting indies in New York State legislature seats to use leverage to force a vote on a legislative amendment on ballot. From your mouth to God's ears, my friend. You tell me the plan. I want to hear it. Asking us to also Roger Meadows asking us to ratify the New York State Constitution that would allow us to run petition drives statewide to place our own citizen-led amendments on ballot for U.S. to ratify into New York State Constitution. Well, I'll give you this: you offered a plan. The thing is, it won't happen. Like you're not you have to build enough outside power to be able to leverage against the insiders, and that power doesn't exist yet. You would have to focus more on building outside power before you busted a move like that. Rumble, Scooby, Free Palestine. Lawns are fun. Just join the ACP, American Communist Party. Nobody else is rejecting the two-party Epstein regime in a serious summer. Hey, man, look, I can't endorse it because I don't know enough about you, but from what I've seen, I've liked what you guys are doing. Like, I don't feel like it's either or. I feel like you do need to build up communist parties based on my politics. You need to build that so that you will be in a position to leverage that power against the establishment. And from what I have seen from the outside, it looks like you guys are trying to do that, and kudos to you. Vianticus Prime, the only mass exodus is useless hot air from their friggin' mouths while they're crying. You're right. Oh, he's saying I need to work on my pig Latin. Yeah, I never learned it. I never picked it up. All right. So those were all the chats. We will go over to Rumble now, do a few segments.